All right, guys. Today was going to be the day where I unveiled my dream off-season plan part 3. It was going to be the day where I outlined the free agents I would go out and sign during the open period that starts in a few days. But with what happened last week, everything changed. So all the plans that I had worked out, all the ideas that I had, they don't make sense anymore. So that's not going to be this video. I cannot, as of right now, make a meaningful dream free agency off-season plan. With what we know right now, it doesn't really matter to me what we do in this free agency period, to be perfectly honest. Rather than pointing out specific players that I want, specific needs that I want filled, with the team in its current state, I honestly don't really want to do that much of anything. So, what is important right now, the real thing that needs to be discussed right now is this fork in the road. The Seattle Seahawks at this point can either trade for Deshaun Watson and then put all their probably previously planned free agency moves back on the menu, or they can not trade for Deshaun Watson and go into a rebuild. And as of this moment, even though there's reason to believe we may end up with Deshaun Watson, he is not here right now. The trade has not happened. For the moment, our quarterback is Drew Lock or Geno Smith. Actually, Geno's not under contract, so yeah, it is literally Drew Lock. So, working under that assumption that our quarterback for 2022 is going to be Drew Lock, and even if it's not Drew Lock, let's say it's somebody who is slightly better, like, say, Andy Dalton, Geno Smith, Jacoby Brissett. One of those quarterbacks, which I'm completely indifferent on when you're talking about quarterbacks on this level. When you're talking about quarterbacks that are this close to the bottom of the bottom tier of quarterbacks in the league, it doesn't make a difference to me. With that in mind, then I think the only guiding light this franchise needs during open free agency is to be as cheap as possible, focus on getting young, focus on finding guys with potential, even if it's unlikely to be realized, and then just treat the 2022 season like a playground to figure out what are your diamonds in the rough. And once you get past the 2022 season, you can go from there. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to write out a precise offseason plan, but when it comes to free agents, because free agency does open this week, legal tampering starts tomorrow, and then free agency starts, I think, Wednesday afternoon or something like that. I would just focus on finding young, cheap guys that you believe have potential but aren't going to cost a lot of money. And it doesn't matter how unlikely it is that they ever realize that potential. If you want to go dig up some guys who were picked in the top 10 and busted out after 2 years just to see if you can get something out of them, then fine. Like, we got time to kill, right? We got time to try to get the best out of these guys. We have a season to kill, at least a season to kill. And I don't have names. Maybe a guy like Dennis Gardeck from Arizona, outside linebacker. Not super productive in Arizona, but he did flash, and he was somewhat highly touted coming out of the draft. So if you want to pick up that guy and see what he can do for you in a part-time role on the defense, that would be something I would strongly consider. If you want to take shots at some offensive linemen who were drafted in the top 100 and really didn't pan out, then sure, why not? But obviously guys like Armstead, Kelsey, who, by the way, is supposedly going to Philly anyway, Ben Jones, Clowney, guys like that, Xavier Rhodes, Devin McCourty, no point. So if the Seahawks stay on the path they are currently on, that's what I would do. And more than that, I would trim down even more aggressively than before. So I would get rid of all the players that I was already going to get rid of, even if Wilson was here or even if Watson is here. Carson, excuse me, Carson gone, Myers gone, Dunlap gone, Gabe Jackson. I would add him to the list now. No point in keeping Gabe Jackson here. And I would trade Tyler Lockett. I would trade Tyler Lockett, save a few million, and try to recoup some draft value. Tyler Lockett has no value on a team that has Drew Lock throwing him the ball. It's a complete waste. And by the time we get back on our feet, the most likely outcome is that Tyler Lockett is not the same player. I don't see Lockett as a guy who's going to age extraordinarily well. I don't see Lockett as somebody who's going to be great at age 35, 36. He's got some years left, but those years should not be wasted on a team that has a Drew Lock type of quarterback throwing him the ball. So that's what I would do if I'm the Seahawks going into this offseason with the quarterback situation the way that it is. Cut costs. Stone Forsythe, you're up. Jake Curhan, you're up. Let's see what you guys can do. If you get Drew Lock killed, I don't care. I have no attachment to Drew Lock. Drew Lock has no hope of being good in the NFL. So if he gets CTE, then he'll be well paid for it, but no skin off my back. Any other young players that you have? Michael Jackson, a guy who flashed a little bit last year at cornerback. Bless you on Austin. John Reed. You want to see what these guys can do in extended regular season action? Good times. Good time to do it. So I'm taking a lot of the stuff off the menu for the Seahawks this offseason, as of right now. Now, if you get Watson, then you have to revisit all that. If we get Watson, I will probably post my dream offseason plan because most of it would be relatively unchanged, even though we changed quarterbacks. The only thing that would really change is that we would have less money, but there are things we can do to mitigate that. So, for the moment, I'm not going to offer up that specific offseason plan because I don't have one. The only thing that matters to me is that you get rid of your older players, you commit to just letting young guys with potential play in 2022, see what you have, and then in 2023 you make decisions on them, and they're educated decisions because you got to see them play for a year. And yeah, doesn't make a difference anymore. For the moment, that's the best way to go for Seattle. Now, there is a middle path. And I'm not excited to talk about it, but we have to. It is rumored that the Seahawks are interested in trading for Kirk Cousins from the Minnesota Vikings. This would be the middle path. You would not have to give up the farm like you would for a Deshaun Watson. You would have to give up something, but you're getting a quality quarterback, an above-average quarterback who can get it done, who is going to be able to get the ball to Metcalf, who is going to be able to get value out of Tyler Lockett, who is going to be able to win some games, who is going to be able to even potentially have a winning record if he gets to play in all 17 games. Maybe even get you to the playoffs. But you wouldn't feel a desperate need to go all in to support Kirk Cousins because he's good, but he's not great. So you could just kind of bob around in the middle. And therein lies the problem. To me, that middle path with Kirk Cousins is basically this organization admitting we don't care about the Super Bowl. We only care about fooling our fan base with a 10-win season. If this team trades for Kirk Cousins, and by most accounts you would have to give up a first-round pick to get him. Now, I hope it wouldn't be our number 9 overall pick this year, so it would probably be a first-round pick next year. Then, best case scenario, you're probably looking at Kirk Cousins. He would put up good numbers. He would probably win 9 or 10 games if things go well. You probably get smashed in the first round of the playoffs. And fans like me are not going to be happy with that result at all. But the team could fool the casual fans in the fan base by pointing to that and saying, hey, we did better. See? We did better. Wilson, we went 7-10 with Wilson. We won 10 games with Cousins. We're better now. And then they get to sell their season ticket packages. They get people in the stadium. They get people watching on TV. And everybody gets what they want except for the fans like me who know that Kirk Cousins is never, ever, ever going to win you a Super Bowl unless you give him the most stacked team imaginable. So that would be the middle path. It is a path that I sincerely hope we're not seriously considering. Kirk Cousins, he's getting older. He might not even be above average for that much longer. He might not even be what he was the last couple years for Minnesota. What he was all right. He's a good... I'm not saying he's bad. And I don't think he would be bad if he came here, but you're going to give up a first-round pick just so you can fool the fan base? Because you can't tell me any other thing. You can't tell me I'm wrong. I think Pete Carroll and John Schneider know exactly what they're doing if they trade for Kirk Cousins. They're trying to buy themselves a little scrap of goodwill with the fan base by putting together a winning season, maybe a playoff berth, while acknowledging the fact that there's no Super Bowl. Just stave off the pitchforks and torches for another year. That's all it is to me. The only way I'm okay with getting Cousins would be if you get him for like a third-round pick, because then you could let him go the next offseason and probably get that third-round pick back because of compensation picks. But to give up more than a third-round pick for me is absolutely not. No way, no how. I'd rather have Drew Lock at my quarterback and just go 4-13. And I know Pete Carroll would not agree with that philosophy. I know he's very anti that. But just give me Drew Lock. I'll take my 4-13 like a man. We'll get a top 5 pick. And it's fine. So those are the 3 paths. Hopefully that middle one is not even a real consideration right now. But until we know what path we're taking, I can't really say what we should do. Now, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm cool with either path. You can either trade for Deshaun Watson and go all in to win around him, or you can not trade for Deshaun Watson and nuke the roster, which, like I said, Lockett gone, Gabe Jackson gone, Dunlap gone, Carson gone, Myers gone, Collier gone, Mayoa gone. Anybody who is unlikely to still be a productive player in 3 years, maybe 2, but probably 3, out. So we'll know more in the next couple of days, because here's the thing. Legal tampering starts on Monday, tomorrow. So free agents are going to start committing to teams. And if you trade for Deshaun Watson, you are going to have to get commitments from a lot of good free agents. Because the team in its current state, it's not winning with any quarterback. Not Deshaun Watson, not anybody. So you need to either have Deshaun Watson on your roster by Monday, tomorrow, or you need to know with 100% certainty that he will be for you to be a free agency player. And if you know that he won't be, then you can commit to being quiet, not spending your money, getting cheap young players with potential, but maybe low odds of realizing that potential because you can afford to do that. And you need to know. If you trade for Deshaun Watson in a week, then cool, you got Deshaun Watson, but all the good free agents are gone. So whatever you do, do it today, tomorrow, as soon as possible. I hate to put a time limit on this because we're trying to not overpay here, but there is a little bit of a time limit here. And I'm fine with whatever you want to do. I will say I have a slight preference to trading for Watson, just because I don't trust this regime with the rebuild. This at least takes the rebuild away from the current regime, because they're giving away most of their rebuild assets to get Watson. And also, I don't like the idea of Carroll and Schneider having another couple years of an excuse to hide behind to not get fired. If you let them rebuild, then they can hide behind that for a couple years and say, you can't fire me, we're rebuilding, you got to give me time. If you trade for Watson, they don't have that excuse. They have to win now, or pitchforks and torches come out. So I will be streaming free agency, but for the moment, honestly, I am rooting for a quiet free agency, low amounts of money spent, and as many young, talented, maybe troubled players getting the opportunity to show what they can do. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos later, but that's my take.